Thank you very much. We are here to um, celebrate the installation of a traditional leader, iNkosi Mkhwanazi. This part is a traditional part, which basically is involving the family and the community. It is an age-old tradition of, linking the newly installed iNkosi with the community that is leading, and of course with the ancestral family that has gone beyond. And it is important that in terms of our African identity, we always look at the lineage as to who were our forefathers, who were our grandfathers and fathers and so on. The major contribution of that in the building of the African identity is to link the history of our community with the current generations, and also take out of the stories of the heroism of all of the forebears an inspiration that makes our younger people know that they are part of a long history of community activism, of the struggle for improvement and betterment of society, that therefore from where they are they need to make their own contribution during their time. And so it becomes important for the families, but it also helps to generate these stories from parent to children. And this again is how we preserved the record of our history, the record of our traditions, the record of all the things that make us a unique people. So our values of Ubuntu are transmitted through the oral storytelling tradition, which makes people understand, a very different world that they were not brought up in, but understand exactly how that is different to where they are today. So in this process, we are here to celebrate that. And in simple terms, we're basically here to wish iNkosi well. We wish him a good life. We want to wish iNkosi, a good and successful time in the office. And in this also, it's important as well to say you have a lot of people who are here for this community. This is history. It's a part of a landmark of the evolution of the community. There are people here who will be telling you about what used to happen many years ago. All of those stories are not just history, but they're also lessons for younger people. So I think it's important to keep a record of all of this in our archives, because in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, in 40 years, community life changes. And in this case, I have seen a lot of changes, and for younger people to see what is happening today, in 20 years' time, they'll never understand what was going on. And therefore, it's that recording that is important for people to understand. I think also just to be able to understand and respect the contributions of those who came before them, so that they understand things were not so easy, they were not so simple, but in this case, they are able to relate to the challenges that people were facing and how they've overcome them, and how that must then in turn inspire them to look at the new challenges and say, this is what was achieved before we were born, this is what we need to achieve. And then those who come thereafter must also understand life is a perpetual struggle towards improvement of our own living conditions. And therefore, I think it's important to keep the records in archives, so that for those who are able to go back, they are able to contextualize some of the issues. Sometimes it's difficult even to understand why certain things have happened unless you have got a historical context. What I've seen today also with the younger children has been the question of difficulty in contextualizing the vernacular language expressions. So we come from a very pastoralist and agriculture-based kind of life, and therefore you will find a lot of expressions in isiZulu and some of the vernacular languages is actually a depiction of that. And for younger people today, be able to understand the meaning of some of the things, they've got to understand that context. And I think archives will help us to keep that context. And for purposes of what we are here today, we really wish iNkosi everything of the best, and we also wish the people of Mkhwanazi everything of the best. And of course, they understand they've got to make history in this part of Africa and improve their lives, and this must improve in turn the rest of the continent, because everyone must make an improvement in the way.